Hello, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Blockchain Game Alliance. We're super excited to have these wonderful people here today. They are our newest members for the BGA. So, welcome, everyone. Welcome, Jay and Ben. How are you
Thank you very
doing?
much. Yeah, all good. Thank you. All good.
Same.
Yeah.
Cheers for having us.
Yes. So we have Jay Styles. I don't know if I pronounce it correctly, from Plexus.
Yeah,
So he's
smashed it.
exploring about his project over here, and of course Ben James, the founder of 404 XYZ, another very interesting project. But with that being said, we should start off with Ben James here. So hi Ben, how are you doing? Can you tell us a bit more about yourself, 404, and of course what it does?
Yeah, excellent. So should I share some screen as well here?
Yes, of course.
All right, perfect. So I'm the founder of 404. We have a couple of different names. Sometimes we go by 404 Gen. Our website is 404XYZ, so sometimes we're called that as well. But in general, I'd like to just give you a little bit of background on myself, and then can dive into some of the stuff that we are building. So originally, I'm from the US. I'm from Florida, but I'm fortunate enough to have US, UK, and Italian citizenship. So I've bounced around most of my life, and I ended up here in Vienna, Austria, taking a master's degree in architecture. And my background is really kind of at this intersection of design and tech. And so what we are building at 404 is 3D generative AI technology, and that aligns pretty well with where I'm coming from and some of the things that I've been building in the past. I think some of my more interesting projects have revolved around XR games and applications, as well as helped to design an F1 track, which was kind of cool, based on like telemetry data of cars and viewing angles of cameras and all of that. So so a couple of years ago, started being interested in trying to connect. I was doing a lot of machine vision work out of personal hobbies, building AR and XR applications, and tried to connect machine vision with machine learning, and founded a company out here in Europe where we really tried to then start building. Initially, the thought was around architecture, because my background as an architect, it felt like a good fit, and could generate buildings using 3D GAN models at the time, or generative adversarial networks. But eventually ended up in the gaming industry, working even with a couple of really large AAA players like Square Enix and others, and have been building ever since this project called 404. So the main idea here is. The main idea is, how do we democratize content creation to some extent? I know this is a relatively professional audience at the BGA, but I think one of the things that we feel like AI is particularly strong at is able to make the design process more efficient and enable people that maybe don't have the same expertise in 3D modeling and content creation available, or able to create new worlds. So this is what we've built. It's essentially, we are a team of EU researchers. We've gotten funding from the European Union. We've been building up according to things like trustworthy AI standards of the EU. And we've always focused on generating 3D assets and worlds. So all of the things that you see on my screen today will be generated by our technology. I think this is probably quite well known to most of the audience here, but essentially the problem that we're trying to solve is that oftentimes when you're building a world or a scene, you might think of this main character where all of the focus and attention goes, but actually, I guess as all of you know, these backgrounds take forever. And so I think where the current state of 3D AI is at is that these background assets can be very easily generated, and you can curate them according to certain art styles. You can iterate over them, do A/B testing, get to market faster, and all of that type of stuff. So our project tends to balance a little bit quality and quantity. I think I'll start by talking a little bit about how the technology works, because that's fundamental to where we're using blockchain in this project. So we're actually a subnet on BitTensor. I don't know how familiar some of you guys are with BitTensor, but it's one of the leading, if not the leading, crypto XAI projects in the space at the moment. And so the idea of BitTensor was, how could we leverage both decentralization and blockchain and open source AI technology in a way that creates benefits across the board for that. And so our approach has been to do this within the 3D model space. So it means that essentially when you prompt for a 3D object, so when you write that text description of what you're trying to solve for, you're entering into a competition model. So in BitTensor, there's 3 key demographics. There's a subnet owner. So we're one of the subnet owners. We run subnet 17. There are the miners, which are the participants who actually generate these models using open source and state-of-the-art approaches, and then validators who validate the results according to the 3D AI technology that we've written for them. And this is only to say that it's interesting because you're using sort of this decentralized approach, you're kind of sampling the overall intelligence of the ecosystem here and of the internet to some extent when you're generating these models. So what we see is a very rapid improvement across the board. So we launched our subnet in May, and the results looked similar to this fish on the left. And already by June, the results had gotten significantly improved. And so let me just go back here for a second. So these are the type of assets we create. We do very much kind of individual assets here. And so I think what you'll realize if you generate assets on our subnet is it's capable of doing quite a wide variety of different assets. So it can do everything from hyper-realistic assets to more cartoonish or stylized assets. And it also deals with really thin pieces equally well as kind of larger rotund pieces. And this is, again, a little bit the nature of using this decentralized system where there's no single foundational model at play, but rather a diversity of models that are all competing to basically do the best job in each particular case. I think what's interesting for us is seeing where people have pushed this. So with the ability to generate these individual models, larger world, here, everything you see except for the VFX was generated. This is all in Unreal Engine. So this is a series of different worlds that you move through. It's for an upcoming presentation at the Venice Biennale that we have. And took only a couple of days, one environment artist who wasn't trained as a 3D engineer. This is another one. Again, everything that's shown in this scene, aside from the VFX, is generated using 404. And I think it's just a nice way to then start to ideate and concept through the types of worlds and levels that you'd want to create. This next one, I won't speak over because there's a bit of sound, but somebody's made an actual game out of it in Unity. And so here, the interesting thing was because they were completely unfamiliar with Unity, they used our plugin within Unity to generate the models, and they used Claude to generate all of the VFX in the gameplay. And then just the last scene here, another one created by a different artist, again, using the text to 3D generator to make a bunch of different types of coral. So our project here is really just oriented around getting this technology, which fundamentally focuses on more individual assets, into the hands of creative people. And we can do this either through different plugins. So we have a plugin into Unity, we have a plugin into Blender, we have exports across both mesh and Gaussian splatting or PLY files. So we've seen people using this in Unreal Engine, we've seen people using this in Spline. And the other nice thing about this project is everything is free here. So we monetize as a project through the crypto layer, through inference on the BitTensor network. And that means that we're able to offer this as a free plugin and support, hopefully just to see what kind of interesting, cool, and creative things people go on to do with it. If you don't want to generate only a 3D model, you could also use a really large database that we've built. We've built the world's largest 3D AI data set. It's larger than actually all of the other data sets in the world combined, which is quite interesting. And this is both in a way to push research forward around 3D AI, but it's also to take advantage of not losing out on compute. So for example, if you prompt something into our system, if a miner creates a really high quality model, you'll receive that model and you have ownership over that model. However, the second or third place models, if they're still of high enough quality, we save into this open source database to give access to everybody. And that's all available publicly online. Everything we do is open source, and hopefully there are some people here that could take advantage of that, either through individual asset creation or if you're more interested in like an integration with API calls, we also facilitate that. And everything's available on our website, which is 404.xyz. So thank you.
Hey, awesome. That was actually very, very interesting and intriguing. So I don't know if you folks have any question watching there right now. For those checking out for XYZ, do we have any questions? If not, if they're not going to ask questions, I have a couple of questions actually because I think this is a very interesting project on my end. So going once, going twice. All right, no questions. So I guess just me then. All right. So I have a question for you, Ben, because I think this is a very interesting project. I put in here, can it generate any type of style? Let's say, for example, as someone who's also trying to learn 3D modeling in Blender, it's the best free software out there for
Yeah.
learning 3D modeling. Can it generate any style, especially if you're in web development? There has to be, like, for example, for a game, it has different types of styles and genres. Can it generate any specific style?
It can. What I will say is that I personally find the prompt, the text to 3D aspect to be difficult to control at times. You have to become a little bit of a prompt engineer to get exactly the style that you want out of that. And when we show some of those worlds of like really nice kind of dystopian forest or cyberpunk city, this is because someone's become a bit of a prompt engineer here. We are preparing to release an update that'll allow you to go 2D to 3D, and this is inherently much more controllable, because as long as then you can curate style through traditional 2D AI techniques, you can use that as your reference image in an input system. But the technology itself should be quite capable. I would say that's probably one of the larger benefits of using a decentralized approach like this. You're not confined to one particular foundational model, which will have within it its own stylistic limitations. You're getting a larger sampling of the broader 3D AI ecosystem.
Awesome. Yes, yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense, especially this project is still in early access, if I'm not mistaken, or is it fully rolled out already?
No, so it is fully rolled out. So you can go on our site. You'll be able to try it out in real time. It takes about 60 seconds to generate a model. You can also download plugins into Blender and Unity directly from our site there as well. I think we are preparing to launch a bunch of different updates. So at the moment, for example, Blender has mesh capabilities, Unity does not. That will be updated, and then the 2D to 3D aspect will also be rolled out. So we're kind of just building in public here. I think there's, the version that you tried today will probably not be the latest version in another few weeks or another few months. But I think it's part of the interesting thing about building in Web3 and building this type of technology. The world's moving very quickly in AI, as I guess everybody knows. And so if during this call a new foundational model or some sort of meaningful update is dropped and it's open source and commercially viable, we'll see that our miners are updating it on the subnet within hours. So the results tomorrow could even be higher quality than they are today, which is interesting.
Awesome. Great answer. Yes. And I definitely agree. So another question. Since you mentioned, is it free? Won't it, like, maybe cause some problems on your end if someone, like a team, uses it, to generate, like, thousands of assets?
So at the moment, it should be fine. We've stress tested it pretty heavily, and the way that BitTensor is set up with decentralized mining servers and users, we don't think we see any issue. We're even happy to do kind of API integrations where people are using this for real-time user-generated content, things like this that will certainly be within the thousands, if not tens of thousands of daily generations. I think what we have to look at long-term is, when there are those breakout successes and somebody does monetize significantly off of these types of assets, how do we programmatically reward the people who participate in this ecosystem? So not just us, but maybe even the miners who generated those base models. But that's not really part of the roadmap at the moment. I think at the moment, we're just more interested in seeing what kind of creative things are people able to achieve when given this type of technology. And because we see the tech evolving so quickly, I think that it doesn't really make sense in this early stage to really put any kind of constraints, especially around monetization on it, especially since we have the opportunity to monetize through a crypto model with the inference layer.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, thank you so much for that. I have a question with regard to the stuff that's being put out there. So let's say, for example, a team creates like a thousands of assets, and this is a question. Personally, I've seen a lot of AI peeps, encounter on a daily basis. Can they monetize what they've created with AI? Will there
Yeah.
be any restrictions with it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we require that all of our miners sign a digital handshake whenever they generate something that one says that they've not used any proprietary data in their process and that they've used only licenses and models that are available for commercial use. So our approach is that you can, but obviously this is a pretty quickly moving space. I think if you're a small developer that's building, I personally don't think you have that much to worry about here. I think we've seen some pushback from the really large AAA game developers where there is a bit more hesitation and wanting to be a bit more conservative before you start to jump in here. But I think it's a little bit up to the risk profile. I mean, I think on a licensing basis, everything that you use will be commercially viable from a license perspective. But yeah, we'll have to see how everything plays out.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much. Yes, it's a very interesting project. For those people who want to check out 404 XYZ or 404 Gen, I've linked the website onto the comments, so you can check it out. 404, that's XYZ. So yeah, it takes 60 seconds to generate your 3D assets. You can import it on Blender or in Unity, if I'm not mistaken. So we didn't see the action, of course, of how it actually works. Maybe you can show us a bit of how it works.
Sure. We can generate something live at the moment. Let's go here.
I guess while you're doing that, Ben, I was curious as well, maybe from a selfish recruitment standpoint, but you mentioned like prompt engineers, and I hear it more and more. Do you see it becoming like a full-time job that's going to be well paying in the future, or I don't know, how do you view it?
I view it less skeptically than I did before, but I think one of the difficult things with prompt engineering is that each model has their own nuances to it, and each update to the models also sort of disrupt that a little bit. So I think it's going to be a constantly learning process, but I do think we see it even from people using our own tech that there are certain people that can just get exquisite results out of this, and other people that struggle. So definitely. So I'm just on the live version of our website here. I'm just going to app. We can write whatever we want here. We could do a purple cute monster here. And so now when I hit generate, so what's happened now is this request has gone out to the miners. So they are now competing in order to generate this request of a purple cute monster. And as they submit these requests, our technology, the technology that 404 has built, is in real time evaluating what is the best result. So can be a balance, right? How closely does it align to a prompt? What if somebody submits a great purple monster that's not cute? Yeah. Then should that win over a lower quality purple monster that is cute, for example? At the same time, we might look at what are the different attributes between the texture of the model? Like, are there any kind of discrepancies in the texture space, or the structure of the model as well? Like, does it have a second tail or a third arm or something like this? And these are the types of things that we tend to evaluate. They tend to take about 1 minute. So let's see if we're lucky here. I should have probably tested right before the call, but it's also the nature of decentralized infrastructure that not everybody is always on. We'll see. I can, in the meantime, at least while this one is generating, if it goes to about 90 seconds, I think, oh, there. Okay, now it's gone through. So this one took a little bit longer, but now somebody's won the competition. So this is where the winner's model will now be shown. And now the sort of second and third place, or anybody that scored high enough in our validation system, will be put into an open source data set. And if you scored very low, so if you submitted a result that was not very strong, then you've lost out, and you've basically lost out also on your own compute for doing this. Yeah. Oops. But usually at this stage now, the model definitely was generated. It should just be transferring it to the front end now.
The beauty of live interviews, eh?
I know. It's always how it goes. But hopefully, if you're trying at home, hopefully also you can generate these things live at home. I might be having a problem on my front end here. You can try reloading, and we'll send a different prompt through. There are some prompts that won't work. So there is like a content moderation filter. I mean, that one won't have caught it on Purple Monster or something like that. We can try a cyberpunk drone, or we can do like a, I don't know, a yellow cyberpunk drone. But sometimes, for example, if you're trying to get something that's going to get flagged by content moderation filters, because we have these integrations, for example, with Unity and things like this, we have to respect certain guidelines for that. So some of the plugins that we have will have different limits for what's acceptable and what's not. Yeah. And hopefully, okay, so this one took a lot faster, which is good. So that one took about 20 seconds. And now basically what's happened is this competition window is open for a certain period of time. So the competition window is open for 60 seconds. And if enough competitors come in within that time frame, then the window closes. And so that's why sometimes your results will go a bit faster versus if it takes the full 60 seconds, you might not have had multiple miners competing for your particular prompt. All right, so this is our yellow cyberpunk drone. Probably not that much cyberpunk going on here, but it did get the yellow bit, which is good. And then the nice thing here is you would be able to now sort of throw this, so you could just download here, and you could put this into Spline, you could put this into Blender, you could put this into Unity, Unreal. It would be handled by all of these softwares.
So it supports many different types of formats, yes?
Yeah, so by its native nature, this is a Gaussian splat, which is a little bit of a newer form of 3D representation. So you can convert it to mesh, and I guess everybody on the call will be very familiar with what is a mesh. But Gaussian splats are more of an AI or research-driven technique for 3D representation. They are by their nature much lighter weight than meshes. And for this reason, they're typically used in reconstruction or digital twins. But part of this project is a little bit like with R&D aims. So we think that by generating Gaussian splats, we're able to push that element of research further. And we also think there's reason to believe that it generates higher quality 3D models that can be then converted to traditional techniques like meshes.
That makes a lot of sense. So one last question for you, Ben, because this is actually a very intriguing project, at least from my perspective. I think most 3D artists is gonna, or those in the field are gonna, or indie game developers are gonna love this piece of software that you built, this piece of web app, because it's gonna streamline their process. Just in case if they want something done quickly, and let's say they don't have the time to hire like an external 3D artist to do. Are these models editable? That's my last question for you.
Yeah, so they are but they're not built up in the same way that a 3D modeler would probably build them from scratch. So for example, this car here, you won't have a separation of the wheels versus the body of the car. You won't have a separation of the glass material from the yellow paint, for example. And so I think 404 is very much like more of this kind of foundational step where I think it's very good for some types of assets. I think it's very good for concepting and iterating. I don't think that if I were a 3D artist, you need to be too worried about your job or anything here, but I think I would use it for what it is, which is this very kind of creative tool that you can ideate through. And to me, that's why to me, because I'm also, I'm trained as an architect. I've built models from scratch. I'm quite familiar with 3D processes. But at the same time, when I see people are making these types of massively immersive, interesting worlds, like thousands of different objects in them, I realized that there is a really nice place for this within the industry and within the types of content that we create. And it doesn't necessarily need to detract from, if you want to build your boat, maybe that your character jumps on and sails through this world, maybe you're going to hand model that boat, or maybe you're going to generate pieces of that boat separately, the mast and the sail and the anchor and things like that. But I think it is a very nice tool for ideating and kind of expanding your creativity. And that's also part of the reason why this is free. It's just meant to be kind of a new tool for people to work with and engage with and have interesting experiences. I don't think it's going to replace your design process, but I think it will hopefully do some really cool stuff for it.
Yes, awesome, and I couldn't agree more. So thank you so much, Ben, for sharing your work. I think it's pretty cool. It's actually very very impressive. So I like it. I'll definitely be checking it out myself. Behind the 3D process. So thank you very much. All
Thank
right.
you.
For you folks who want to check out a 404, here's the link again. You can generate your own 3D assets within seconds. Just use it for what it is. AI isn't meant to replace jobs; they're meant to supplement or enhance our skill sets per se. So, thank you so much, Ben and 404, for sharing. And yes, all right. So moving on, next we have Jay Styles from
How we
Plexus.
doing?
Yeah,
Lovely to be here. Appreciate
uh,
the intro there.
yes. Thank you, Jay. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself and what Plexus is, what it
Yeah,
does?
of course. Let me present quickly. Give me 2 seconds. There we go. So yeah, I'm Jay from Plexus. I'm a consultant here. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are personally or the viewers, but essentially we're the global leaders in Web3 recruitment. So if I flick through here, we started back in 2017. So we were the first like crypto native recruitment agency. Started around like the ICO boom. Been in the space about 8 years now. As you can see, like we do roughly, hopefully more as time goes on, but 300 placements in Web3 a year. So trying to kind of grow with the industry. We've got about 40 people in the UK office. We've recently opened up an office out in Miami, in Brickell. So we're slowly growing that out. There's about 5 people there, but that's mostly to kind of accommodate the time zones, so we can work with people out on the West Coast, etc., which can be a bit difficult based in UK, working to those time zones at times. So growing there. Yeah, since we've been in the space for a long time, 8+ years, we've grown our network and our database to about 600,000 candidates on it. We've got lots of different routes we kind of go down to find the right candidates for our clients. So whether that's going on GitHub, where it's a LinkedIn specific search, whether it's someone we know that we've placed previously, lots of different routes. So yeah, that's a bit of an introduction to us. I guess to add to that as well, because we are the largest in the crypto recruitment space anyway. We tend to give everyone kind of we call them like patches or a niche which they focus in. So obviously I'm here, so mine's gaming, but then we also break it down into verticals. So some people might focus in the realm of DeFi, or we might even break that down further and focus on different ecosystems or languages. Some people focus in Solidity here, or Rust engineers, or that kind of thing. So we're able to specialize across all verticals within crypto, and mine tends to be gaming. So I do a lot of placements there. This is just going on to a few of the clients that we've worked with. As you can see, we work like a range of different roles as well. Like a lot of them is like technical roles, so Solidity engineers, front end, back end. But then we've seen a lot in gaming as well. It's really important to have a good kind of marketing team, building out community, since a lot of games are community driven. So there's a few different kind of games there. And for example, if I worked with one of these gaming companies, I've got like a good network within marketing and sales myself. But if the gaming company was looking for a Solidity engineer, I would then be able to partner with one of my colleagues here who's got a good network in Solidity. I've got one in gaming, and we kind of partner on that, just to make sure our client gets the best experience and the best network available to them. So yeah, that's a few different placements that we've done. This is just a bit of a breakdown about where a lot of our business is done. A lot of it, about half of it, is based in the EMEA region. Mostly because we've been based in the UK and it's kind of the closest to us, but hopefully now we've got the office out in Miami. We're looking to grow that a lot, probably get it to more kind of 50-50. We do want to expand into APAC and get an office out there eventually, but one thing at a time, really. So going on to, I thought it'd be useful to go into a few different things that I've seen lately, just working in the space from a recruitment standpoint. I'm not sure how you guys are finding it. I know the market with tariffs and things like that, it's a little bit turbulent. I think there's a little bit of uncertainty, although we're in a good place. And we find that like our performance as a company usually kind of correlates with where the market's at. Recently, we had a record-breaking month in the amount of active jobs that we've got on our website, which you'll be able to check out. And we're hopefully seeing that's trending in the right direction for a more bullish market for sure. I guess on the other side, like looking into what people were looking for, I feel like a lot of clients that I speak to, there's a new kind of thought to get hybrid talent. Hybrid not as in like in the office and some days not, but more having a range of different skill sets. So for engineers, for example, we've seen that gaming companies might want someone that's got Solidity experience for Ethereum-based networks or EVM networks, but then they might also want someone to have a little bit of Rust as well, so they're able to implement on the Solana side of things. Or, I mean, the Ton ecosystem's being developed on quite heavily recently, and Telegram. So we've seen like a lot of companies wanting FunC, which is the programming language they use on the blockchain there. That's more kind of on the hard skill side. On the soft skill side, you then also see a lot of companies wanting professionals with some Web3 literacy, let's call it. So like interest or knowledge around tokenomics or on-chain game mechanics or community-driven growth models and things like this, which I think is particularly important for like marketing hires or sales hires. I think right now, what's the most popular is probably like the marketing, community roles, sales roles. Whether, I don't know, this is because games have just been heads down and they've just started to release their product and they want to get it out to the right audience. Maybe that's the case. Whether it's projects that are already established and they want to encourage growth in the market and for their project against their competitors. Yeah, there seems to be a lot more about those kind of the marketing and sales. And I mean, the tech side of things are always things that are quite popular hires anyway. But yeah, it definitely seems to be on more that side. And then I think just like an interesting point that I've seen from a few different articles, but also firsthand from speaking to a lot of candidates and clients, like it seems like indie games are outperforming like AAA studios. And I think mostly this is because the crypto industry almost lends its hand to indie game developers, whether it's, I feel like it kind of mimics it in a way where it's quite volatile at times. And I think indie games are able to be a little bit leaner. They can be faster. They can adapt quicker. They release maybe some more regular updates, and often are open to pivoting a little bit and experimenting with different blockchain mechanics, or they're adapting to change basically. So I thought that was interesting in terms of kind of like what I've seen recently working in the last few months, but it's forever changing to be honest. So on to the next one, the hiring landscape. So the traditional gaming space against like the blockchain gaming space, generalizing a little bit, but they have a lot of kind of long hiring processes. The roles seem to be more established. People within the companies have a specific kind of job or an area that they focus on. Whereas in blockchain gaming, you find that you often have to wear multiple hats. You have to move quickly. You have to be a bit of a generalist at times, and maybe you'll help out, say your marketing. Maybe you'll help out on the social media side, but then you'll define strategy the next day. And whether it's in traditional, usually you have dedicated people to that, and maybe that's because of a size kind of thing as well. But I thought it's quite interesting. Obviously, there's been quite a lot of layoffs in like the traditional sector for gaming. I think it was just under 15,000 layoffs in last year in the gaming sector from a load of kind of big companies as well, big studios. And I think what that does is Web3's got a great opportunity to actually bring some maturity maybe to the blockchain gaming space, with people having kind of defined experience. They've got kind of processes from the traditional side, and they can apply that to the Web3 gaming space as well. A lot of people that I speak to a lot of like traditional gaming candidates as well, maybe that have been affected by these layoffs, or maybe they're just looking for a mood. But they have a little bit of a stigma sometimes. And it's how you kind of educate around that, and you consult them about it, and tell them around the upsides and the funding that's coming into the space as well. But yeah, I mean, generally in the blockchain gaming space, there's a need for kind of hybrid talent, be hands-on, wear multiple hats. And I think that's one of the main differences between the two, really. Going on to that, kind of leading from it, from a client side point of view, how can you attract this kind of top talent? Because you'll get a lot of top talent from the traditional sector as well as the Web3 gaming sector. There's lots of different ways. Obviously, we're blending two fast-moving, sometimes volatile industries, gaming and crypto. So you can get creative around some of the different ways to attract top talent. Generally, I know creating games, creating infrastructure can be quite expensive. So if you're not wanting to, or you're not prepared to kind of spend as much on the salary side of things, there's other things you can offer in terms of comp. So kind of transparency around your token model, or your funding, the vision, how you feel these candidates might fit into the vision of your company. For senior profiles, usually they want some flexibility around working hours, or working in office, or even you can be flexible around kind of getting paid via stable coins instead of fiat, which all are different things that companies can offer that traditional studios don't really. So yeah, I think remote hybrid working, it really depends on candidates and the clients, what their kind of preference is. But I feel like it's become a bit of a norm in Web3 that a lot of them are working remotely. Some people do like going into the office and like the face-to-face interaction. So I think offering like meetup events, budget towards conferences can be really interesting for these people as well. And then the final thing, like learning opportunities. So whether it's junior profiles, they want a lot of kind of learning opportunities, training, maybe budgets for personal development, etc. And then on the flip side, for like the more senior people, same thing, like personal kind of independence budget, things like that can be super helpful to attract these top talent and differentiate kind of packages. So yeah, that's a little insight into that. I put together just a slide around kind of average salaries, and I think it could be interesting. I've only broken it down into game developer, marketing, business. I'd be interested from yourself, Ben, whether how accurate you think these are as well. But basically, what I generally see in the market is in the US, it's obviously a lot more expensive. The cost of living is more expensive out there, and it can be depend on where they're based and the funding of the companies. Sometimes they're better to steer away from the US and maybe focus on people from Europe or APAC or LATAM, which can be a lot cheaper. So you can see a bit of a breakdown. These are some of the averages that I've worked out that we speak to, what people are looking for. To be honest, these fluctuate as well, like especially some of the business development roles and blockchain engineers. It's really dependent on the market. If you're in a bull market, a lot of these guys are in high demand, and that then means that they're going to be charging a lot more, and they can feel like they can increase the salary by 10, 20%, whatever it might be. Then when it flips over in more bearish markets, you'll be able to pick people up at a cheaper rate, which is why I try to encourage clients, even before the market takes off, you can secure some really top talent at a slightly cheaper rate usually, or not as competitive. And I feel like that's almost the best start to time to hire before it gets really, really bullish, as it does affect it a lot, we see. And you start seeing kind of bidding wars, multiple offers on the tables, things like that, basically. And I think the final slide, I only included 2 here, but I think it's interesting. These are 2 offer packages that I've dealt with personally. There's different ways you can structure things. So this first candidate, the lead technical artist, based out in the US, in New York, he was ideally looking for about 200K when I spoke to him. He was a lead technical artist at Google. The package we managed to secure and that he was comfortable with in the end, after some consulting and advice, was 160K on the base salary. But then what the company did offer is these 250 stock options, 50K in tokens, which is had a vesting schedule, obviously. So it's a few different ways you can basically feature it. So the head of marketing one, like this is something we've seen a lot more often recently, and I actually encourage it because it gives the candidate a bit of an option which one they want to kind of go for and which is more valuable to them. But as you can see, it's broken it down into, you can have more on the base salary part and less on the token side of things, or vice versa, or obviously there's the middle option as well. And usually that's interesting for both the client and candidate, see which one they want to give up more, whether they're more cash focused, and some people are very transparent in being more cash focused, but some people are more in it for the long game. Some people really value the token side of things, see the upside on the tokens, get behind projects. So yeah, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. That's everything I've got. I don't know if you guys have any questions at all, or the chat, but happy to talk about it.
Thank you so much, Jay. Yes, very insightful. All right, so do we have any questions? Because I have a couple of questions myself. I don't know if that's okay with you, Ben. Do you have any questions for Jay?
No, I mean, I think it's super interesting. And we're hiring a lot of AI engineers, which you don't have their salaries on there, but they're quite expensive.
Yeah, they can be for sure. There's more and more the AI engineers as well, super popular. Depends on the languages you're looking for as well. Well, I'm interested. Not that we're doing this now, but are you looking for like PyTorch and things like that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, sort of a broad Python set of basis there. But I think for us, the interesting thing, I mean, we've used recruiters in the past, but one of the always tough things with us, and probably I guess maybe some of the other companies in the audience, is when you're small, you know, especially like a marketing role, people come in. We've hired off people from like Meta and some of these big companies before, but they're too much used to being a manager. So I think we really need people that can get their hands dirty, and it's very difficult sometimes in interviews to suss that out, because everybody can say the right things. You know, if you tell people that you're looking for somebody that needs to be hands-on, they'll say the right things. To say, yeah, you know, I'm hands-on. That's what I'm missing in my current role. I really want to get back into the coding and everything like that. But I think it's a rare find when you get somebody that is good enough to be someone like a product manager, and at the same time technical enough to like actually handle part of the day-to-day, which when you're a small company, you just you need that. You know, you don't have the capacity or the team for a full-time managerial position.
No, 100%. I think that's why, I mean, every client that we get on board, we have a chat like this, like beforehand, basically, because it's really good to kind of dive into exactly what you're looking for. I might have a network that I know of people that are hands-on directly already, and I know they've been doing similar projects or something like this. Whereas you're right, you can hire someone from Meta who's only used to being managerial and not hands-on and not wearing multiple hats. So yeah, I can see both sides for sure.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, Jay. For the companies actually watching right now in this live stream, I just want to ask, how much is it to post a job on Plexus? Or do you have a specific pricing rates for different types of jobs, or
yeah, I mean, it's flexible, to be honest. Like, it's whatever kind of compensation they're happy to kind of speak about. Generally, like, we work between like a 20 to 25% on the base salary, and so we don't usually charge on tokens or things like this. But if that's too much, we have retained packages where they can pay a little bit up front. Generally, we can be quite flexible, depending on, it's very dependent on the role, the commitment that we have, if there's other recruiters on it, if it's exclusive with us, etc. And these are all points that we can kind of discuss with the team, beforehand.
Awesome. Thank you very much for answering that. Yes, and I also agree the market is a bit turbulent right now with
Mm.
some certain things that's happening
Yeah.
worldwide. So for those job seekers out there watching right now our stream, are they free to sign up on Plexus, create an account, and apply to jobs that are available posted right now on your site?
Yeah. I mean, you won't even need an account. Go onto our website, have a look through. There should be roughly 100 jobs on there. That's always changing. We try to pull, I mean, between 20 and 30 a week. So there's always new jobs on the platform. And send your CV over. As soon as you send the CV, if we think you're a good fit for it, we'll reach out via email. Hopefully set up a call, have a bit of a 30-minute chat with you, sometimes less, and see if it's a good fit. If not, we can always add you to our database, and you'll get emailed with roles that can be a good fit down the line as well.
All right, awesome. Okay, so for those people out there watching right now, whether you're a company or you're looking to hire someone, or people who are just looking for a job, you can check out plexusrs.com. It's like Jay said, it's free. You won't even need an account. Just go on and check out. There's probably like 30 job postings every single week. You just send over your CV. If you're a good fit, then they'll probably reach out to you over an email. If not, they'll pull you over. Then whenever there's a job available, they'll reach out again. So yes, I think that's it. This has been very interesting, the new members presentation. So thank you very much for the both of you, Jay and Ben, for sharing your projects, especially from the crypto side of things. I think we need more of these actually. These types of innovations, especially 404, since AI is actually booming right now. And I also agree with Jay. There has been a lot of job postings or job listings out there for prompt engineer, work by AI, workflow automation, stuff like that. So very interesting. With that being said, thank you so much for being in this live stream. I've enjoyed every single moment of it, Jay and Ben. So thank you for
Thank you
coming
for
here.
having us.
Yeah, cheers.
Thank you.
All right. With that being said, thank you so much and welcome to the Blockchain Game Alliance. All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.